things that are worth your attention.
I'm just so grateful that you joined us. It is a pleasure.
Welcome to Media Path. I'm Louise Palanker.
And I'm Fritz Coleman.
Today our path takes us deep into the 70s, where the hardest working kid in show business was Moosie Drier. He's now a director and a voice actor with his own podcast called Pop Culture Retro. Moosie joins us very shortly. But first, Fritz, I would like to share my Big Brother update with you. Are you amenable?
Oh, let's do it.
Yeah. So remember I told you about Riley and Catherine?
Yes.
And how Riley
Don't
was...
ask me any questions about it.
All right.
Well,
Catherine was the next evicted ahead of jury, so they're not being sequestered in a jury house. So Catherine went straight to Riley's side, from what I can tell, and defended him and blamed herself for however he was depicted, which is a whole thing when it comes to these types of unhealthy relationships. But now there is a showmance brewing between Vince and Morgan. Would you like to hear the issue?
Please.
The issue being that Vince has a girlfriend of 6 years at home, watching the live feeds, unpleased. Yes. There's a ton of hugging between Vince and Morgan, a lot of hugging. These two will hug. So that's what's going on. They're both on the block this week. Do you watch Big Brother, Moosie?
I do not.
Okay. So it's an obsession. Either you're in or you're out, and I totally get it. Because when you talk Big Brother to people that don't watch, there's some eye rolls, people pass out. So I do apologize. But I just find it an interesting human experiment in sociology. You know, they live on a soundstage that looks like a house, and they're filmed constantly. And it makes people slightly demented.
Well, you know, Fritz is over the moon with it. He called me. He's like, Jackie, did you hear about
Right.
Vince?
No, he's a live feeder.
Yeah, I could tell. He's like, yeah.
I don't know if you can sense my inner excitement.
But I'm ready to talk about another show that's an actual show with actors and scripts, Fritzy. If you find yourself wistfully longing for a season 7 of Virgin River, then Sullivan's Crossing may be your next binge. Are you in, Dina? Sullivan's Crossing? Yep, these two shows are twinsies. Both are based on book series by Robin Carr. Virgin River's gorgeous setting is Northern California. Sullivan's Crossings is Nova Scotia. And you may be thinking, yeah, but I need my dreamboat Tim Matheson. Yes, you do. But Sullivan's Crossing offers the gift that is Luke from Luke Steiner on Gilmore Girls, Scott Patterson. So the formulas are quite similar. Lovely, medically trained lass escapes big city trauma and drama, moving to a cozy town with majestic vistas, which include the hunky local who, in Sullivan's Crossing, is played by Chad Michael Murray, currently a grown-up heartthrob, whom you may remember as a teen heartthrob in One Tree Hill. This incarnation features lots of plaid, sculpted teas, and mugs of steamy beverages. Sullivan's Crossing takes place in Nova Scotia, so I spend every drone shot looking for Anne Murray. I keep expecting her to show up with a song and some brownies. No Anne Murray sightings just yet, but the music is sensational. It's a Canadian production, so this could be all Canadian artists. And here's what I found out last night, Fritz. If you love the soundtrack of whatever show you're listening to, you can go to Spotify and there will be a playlist of all the songs that you're hearing in the show, and that's fun to do. Have you seen The Sullivan's Crossing?
No, I have not.
Chad Michael Murray was also on Gilmore Girls, reports producer Dina. What did he play? Triangle. A love triangle. Rory Dean and Chad Michael Murray. And he does look like an escaped Hanson brother. So, yeah, we want to know what he played in Gilmore Girls. So he's very dreamy. That's such a TV name, Tristan Dugray. Yeah, he's probably a little French Canadian, you know. All right, Fritzy. I'm not getting that sense that you're ready to dive in.
I almost hesitate to follow this excitement.
Not ready to dive in.
I'm going to bring the room down now and talk about literature.
Yay!
You know, Mark Twain is my favorite humor writer, and it is for many people. And I just read his new book by Ron Chernow, which will take up probably a year of your life. It's 1,200 pages long.
Wait, you want to know what? I listened to the audiobook of Hamilton. It took me 7.5 years.
Yeah.
There's a lot of talking.
He did Hamilton, which the play was based on. He did a great one on George Washington and U.S. Grant. And I love Mark Twain. What I love about this book, and I've read everything about him. I've read most of his work and most of the biographical information about him. This one is a book that doesn't mythologize him. You know, Twain had some issues. And he wasn't just a funny guy in the white suit. He was comically brilliant, obviously. And he also had a life filled with grief and anger and moral complexity. He probably would be diagnosed as bipolar. At the very least, he suffered from serious depression. He was the first global American celebrity after Ben Franklin. He was the first one that was known globally. And this book is about more than one person. It's about the country, because the country, after the Civil War, built itself on self-invention and mass media, and that's exactly what made Mark Twain famous. A very complex man.
A man for his time.
And it talks about his whole life from being a steamboat pilot, which was his favorite job, up to being a literary icon and a major public figure. He had financial struggles. He made some awful financial mistakes. He went bankrupt 3 times. He had personal tragedies. He had 2 daughters. Both had emotional issues. One had other mental issues. His wife had serious physical issues, Livy, and he just was filled with pain, which is the irony of his great humor that came during all these tough times. He also had a predilection for very young girls, not in a sexual way. He was very sexually repressed, but he used to love to surround himself. This probably has something to do with his unrealized relationship with his daughters, but he liked to be around like passels of young women, like 5 or 6 young girls at a time. He called them his angel fish. He was very depressive, he was a narcissist, and he was sexually repressed. In the end, if you're a true fan, he remains the greatest comic voice in American literature. You know, his political commentary was as good as Bill Maher's would be. He taught storytelling to Garrison Keillor. He taught honest analysis of human behavior to Ernest Hemingway. They all admitted it. So it's real. If you have time, but you have to be a big fan, it's a great book.
I'm definitely going to do it. Mm-hmm. I would like to introduce our guest.
Moosie!
Moosie. They're not booing, they're just yelling Moosie. You know his face. Moosie Drier played Adam Landers in Oh God, Riley on Kids Incorporated. He hosted the Kid News for Kids on Laugh-In. He played Little Howie on the Bob Newhart Show, and you may know him from his pivotal role in the Alan Freed biopic American Hot Wax. Moosie is also a director and a voice actor and the host of his own podcast, Pop Culture Retro. Welcome, Moosie Drier.
Thank you, guys. It's an honor to be here. I've got a billion thoughts running through my head as you guys are doing your intro. Mostly this studio. I'm so impressed. Yeah, you're talking about the, what was the CW show that... Anyway,
Sullivan's Travels.
Yeah, they've got a monitor running the clip. You've got a couple expert guys behind the keyboard.
We got Raph and Jordan.
And
we're not playing around.
Complimentary iced coffee.
We're not playing around.
I feel like we're like cranking a radio over at Pop Culture Retro. We're gonna have to. Jonathan Rosen.
You do a great job on that because
we're sending you home with swag.
People, for the same reason they like our show, they love your little tidbits and your little anecdotes about being in show business. Oh. And I think that you probably have more, and we're going to do...
Because Fritz and I are not in show business, so...
I was on show business adjacent. I was just below dinner theater on the show business ladder doing local news.
Just below dinner.
I don't want to hijack your podcast, but I'm going to tell you who you guys were and are. I grew up in Los Angeles, Fritz, and you... I don't have a pony in the race. I'm not just saying this. You were such a part of my life for so long.
You're a little intimidated right now, aren't you?
Wow. I'm a little bit intimidated and a little pissed off.
Same.
And I'll tell you why.
Yeah.
Because Fritz Coleman, such a huge, wonderful, comfortable, talented part of Los Angeles. And I'm not kidding. Wow. Like, you were so good at your job.
Behind the scenes at Channel 4 News, where there's Linda Alvarez, respected anchor, and she covers schools for us. Linda,
hi, Fritz.
Did you know I almost became a gym teacher?
No, what happened?
Well, the whistle kept bruising my chest.
Fritz.
Really badly. Fine, don't run in the hall. And this is Kelly Lang, a great newswoman, a generous person, someone who's been a great inspiration to me personally.
Please, Fritz, you're making me sound like Florence Nightingale.
Exactly.
What?
But you're a much better dresser.
Nice save.
Channel 4, Southern California's news channel.
And was it 5 years ago, roughly, that you retired?
Very good.
I got to tell you, a more prideful man wouldn't admit this, but I literally cried on your last broadcast.
It was moving.
Colleen and Fred and Chuck or Paul or whoever else.
It was a moving send-off.
It was so, change is good, but sometimes I really don't like change. And this was one I'm like, no, he can't go. Where's he going?
What am I going to do?
Yeah, and
you have to stay indoors.
And you could tell he's a good right? You could tell he's a good guy because they weren't faking it, especially Colleen Williams. Like, she was on the verge of tears, if not in tears. And I just really remember that. It's like, the embarrassing thing, when we were kids, how people would cry at the long distance phone call commercials,
Oh, remember?
And I'm feeling really emotional about Fritz Coleman.
Well, you know what?
I'm like,
You're a nice person.
thank you.
I appreciate hearing that. It's nice to finally meet you since you've been on every third television program since the 1970s. The question I was going to ask you was, is there anybody who's done more, I don't want to say bit parts, but say, momentary guest appearances on any show than you?
Yes.
Who?
Pamela Ferdin.
Oh, I love her.
Pamela Ferdin.
She's a great kid actor.
We just had her. She on our podcast. I grew up with her. I worked with her a couple of times. She was friends with one of my older sisters. She was in everything. She was she was on The Odd Couple. She was Felix's daughter on The Odd Couple, but
right.
She was the voice of Lucy for Peanuts.
Right.
I mean, there were more than one, but she was she was the voice of Fern in Charlotte's Web. Mm-hmm. And so she did a lot of voice stuff, but she was on her face. She was on the one movie that wasn't very well known, but I think it was her best performance, was called The Beguiled. She was the first person to kill a Clint Eastwood character. The original Beguiled, they made one, I think, I don't know, a few years ago. They
What's
made a
the
remake.
Murder Weapon?
Poisonous mushrooms.
Ooh.
Hey, 1972. If you haven't seen it by now, say sorry about the spoiler. But anyway, Pamela, she did. So I know this because I knew it. I grew up with her. But also recently, like you, I'll do a little research and start looking, and it was just ridiculous how much work she's done.
Do you think that the kids who work all the time are just really bright kids who catch on quickly?
I think. Perhaps. I mean, sometimes that might be
My
the
question
reason.
was just like that, and let me help you answer the question.
Okay, great.
Go for it.
I heard in doing my vast amount of research and my team of experts that I had, sort of doing the due diligence on Moosie, somebody said that oddly enough, there was only a small circle of child male actors at the time, and that's why you guys kept getting work.
I agree with that. Yeah. I mean, you had to bring something to the table, I'm sure. But yeah, it was a different world, It was a different time. Obviously, less people in the business, so less competition. So I think that's why we worked more. There was a handful of people. So Lance Kerwin, the late Lance Kerwin.
He was great.
He and I would not only be mistaken for each other by, people out there go, hey, weren't you James at 16? And no, that was him. And he would tell me that people would say sometimes, me to him. But yes, there were a handful of us, Robbie Rist, Brad Savage, Matthew Layborteaux. Yeah, they were, but the great thing about it was, and I don't know what it's like for the youngsters in the entertainment field today, but we were all just good friends. And like, if you wanted to get a job, but you did, Ike Eisenmann, another way, if you wanted to get a job and one of them got it, it wasn't an upset. It was of course he did, because he's good, and a lot of times it comes down to, you did a great job, but the father has this color hair or curly hair or whatever. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, but it was a different. We a lot of us former child actors know each other because we work together. But there's a lot of relationships I have just because of auditions, because there were just a few select, group of us. But it's I think it's different now, and I'm happy I'm not carting my son around on auditions.
I was watching you with Patrick Layborteaux, and you're both so funny, and that's just such a great episode with him. But I was wondering if podcasting gives you guys an opportunity to go deeper than you would if you just went to lunch together.
Well, if we went to lunch together, you're not in a hurry, and your conversation can breathe. Mm-hmm. But a podcast gives you the license to ask questions that if you asked at lunch, if I was hanging out with one of these guys at lunch, they go, well, why are you asking me that? You know, but I get to secretly find out stuff I kind of really want to know. Listen, if I wanted to ask them, I would in my personal life. But yeah, podcasting is, I enjoy it. I really.
Well, you're a great conversationalist.
Thank you. Appreciate
I like
that.
what you weren't hosting at the time. You were on with Patrick, and you guys just had great energy. I thought you'd be
appreciate
good
that.
at this.
Thank you. Yeah.
So where did it start? What was your first paying job, and how did you get it?
So I was about 5 years old, and so my first paying job was a Kraft caramel ice cream commercial, and it was a voiceover job. And this camera comes and rakes along a table, and there was just nothing but just a sea of desserts. And the kid at the end of the table says, "I'll take one of each," and I guess something happened with his voice. They didn't like his voice. They were looking. So my first job was a voiceover, and then. Shortly after that, I did a film. I played Jack Lemmon's son in a film called The War Between Men and Women. And we shot it in New York and on Catalina Island. And it was I loved it.
He's such a hero of mine. Talk about working with Jack Lemmon.
Okay, well, so in this film was Jack Lemmon and Jason Robards, and so Jason Robards was my biological father actually in the film, but my relationship was with my mom's new guy, who she married, and Jack Lemmon, and I just remember, I didn't know much, I was a little kid, but I saw Jack Lemmon speaking one time. I was just, flying the wall. You learn early on, if you're going to work as a child actor, don't run around, don't make a lot of noise, don't ask questions when people are are working. So you just kind of listen, a little fly in the wall. And he had his whole conversation with somebody. And it was after the conversation I realized, no, that wasn't a conversation. He was running dialogue. He was that natural in what he was doing. Wow. Because then I heard the whole conversation again when the cameras were rolling. I'm like, acting. Really, don't let them catch you acting, they say.
Were you treated well by the adults?
Yes, for the most part. There were some celebrities I did some stuff with, that...
like who?
Henry Fonda didn't love children, it seemed like,
He didn't
at
like
the
other
time.
humans. Yeah.
He didn't like other humans.
He was a very crusty man. I know somebody that represented him.
But you grow up. I don't think I ever complained about it when I was a kid. It was an observation.
Yeah.
But you grow up and now I want. If he were around, I'd just give him a hug. You
Was
know
it
what
a
I mean?
Viewmaster commercial?
I don't know what he was going through.
What was it?
Yes, very good. GAF,
Nice
GAF Viewmaster commercial. Very
I
good,
think
Louise.
I remember seeing it. That's why it popped out that way.
yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah, some of my best work.
So what did you have to do with Henry Fonda? And they put him in a commercial with kids, and he doesn't like kids. Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
I remember, obviously we're talking about the product or whatever, but for the most part, it was him conversing with me, cut, and, and then he suddenly becomes, like
Grumpy
not there
grandpa.
for you,
Grumpy
not
grandpa.
willing to talk
Yeah.
to. Yeah. That's okay. Mm-hmm. But for the most part, I've been very lucky, to work with a lot of wonderful, wonderful people.
Well, you were supposed to be named Gary, and which is so funny because it's like the world's most ordinary name, and then your name became Moosie. And the internet says that you got the name because your dad was friends with a baseball player named Moose Scourin, but you never even knew your dad.
No.
So give us a little more background.
Louise, I think you know as much as I do. just by reading that. Because, it was more about the legend of how it happened within my family, because I heard a couple of Rashomon, I heard a few different, versions of this. And, but from an uncle, my old late Uncle Jim, he's the one whose stories I feel like were conveyed the most accurately out of anyone I was related to. It was just a bunch of embellishers. But he did tell me that Bill Moose Scourin was a player for the Yankees. Your father was friends with him, and that's how you got this unusual name. And then it became my legal name before I even went in as a child actor. And I'm not sure why that happened. Why would you do that to a kid? So, and then put him through public school? Good times. So, and then somehow, maybe when I grow up, I'll change it.
No, when you grow up,
great
if that
name.
ever happens.
As a kid, I'm sure you didn't like it. Fritz is a weird name, and I hated it when I was a child.
Is this your real name?
Yeah, well, it's all of the males in my family were named Frederick, going back 6 or 7 generations. Okay. So my father was Frederick, and I was Frederick. And my grandfather called me Fritz to distinguish me from my father, because Fritz in German is Little Frederick. So, and I hated it when I was a kid, but then it just kind of stuck because it's different. And Moosie's different. It's cute, too.
Oh, well, thanks. And I'm happy to speak to somebody who's, not Bob for what, these, it's like a name complex.
But there's no way to translate the name Moosie. Fritz in German is the German word for the sound that Velcro makes.
I think it's the sound that it makes in all languages. No. And if you're old enough to remember Fritz the Cat, the animated film, which I think was an X-rated animated film.
I think it was X-rated.
Not in the way that you would
they
think
started out as
X-rated.
hand-drawn cartoons, like in The Village Voice or the Detroit Free Press or these left-wing newspapers, and then they turned it into a cartoon.
I remember that. I remember as a kid hopping the fence at the Sepulveda Drive-In to see, because it was X-rated. We got to see what's going on here. Very disappointing.
So you came from a family of sisters.
Yes.
And what drove you to show business? You had a mom that drove...
yeah, my mom. So my mom took 4 of us out to California and threw a couple of us pieces of pasta against the wall, and I'm the one that stuck, apparently. My sisters did do some work, but I guess lost interest in it. My mother met an agent. Her name was Mitzi McGregor, this sweet older woman. And my mother was an invalid. She didn't walk. She was actually one of those people that you would bury in a piano case at one point because she was so obese. No, it's not a joke. She was like, What's Eating Gilbert Grape? That film. That's kind of my childhood.
Okay.
So she was immobile. So she was never on the set or an audition with me once. It was always Guardians.
That must have been such a treat for her to watch you on TV, to see what happened.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I think so. She had notes, But what was your question? Because I'm old. Wait.
Oh, how you got into it? But I'm wondering, so now that we're talking about that, your mom, because I know from watching you with Patrick that your mom didn't come to the sets with you. You came with a guardian, but somehow no one was really managing your finances.
Yeah.
And then you turned 18 and owed money.
Well, I moved out when I was 16.
Okay.
And I was, so the only non-show business job I ever did was because I went out to my mailbox when I was 16 years old. I lived in a terrible little apartment in North Hollywood. I can't imagine how hot that place is right now.
So you left your home? And
Yeah,
you were
at
living
16.
Wow.
And so, I'm trying to juggle, acting and getting myself out of bed to go to high school, if I wasn't working or whatever at the same time. And then I go out to my mailbox one day and there's a residual payment or either a session fee, like for the work, or a residual payment. And it had this just the check stub in it and a red stamp that said tax lien, wages garnished. And my mom, is my favorite human I've ever met. Yeah. And I harbor no resentment, but she didn't intend to do this. She just didn't file my taxes for all the work as a child.
They didn't have Coogan laws back then. Huh?
Well,
they did have Coogan laws because my mom was an invalid.
Oh, okay.
And my legal guardian got it dismissed or got around it, and so 100% of my income went to my household.
Oh, to help support your household.
Yeah.
And then no taxes were being paid. It sounds like they were just in over their head in terms they needed more financial guidance than they sought.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So how you don't have to give us any amounts of money, even though when I Google your name, the thing that it will say for every celebrity is. Google people on Google also asked, how much is this movie?
I've seen that.
Yeah, for everyone. But that's the most, the next, I've heard of him. How rich is he? That's like the next place of human curiosity.
That's like one of the last things I want to know about somebody.
Exactly. I have no interest in that.
Are they a good person or are they not?
Right.
I don't know.
And are they doing okay? and so I don't need to know the figure, but was it the kind where you had to sit it down on the curb, or did you think, okay, I can work this off?
In that year, it may as well have been $1 billion. It wasn't close, of course, to that. It was a lot of money. It was well over six figures. And what the IRS will do is they'll make their own. If you don't file and you ignore everything, they'll make their own estimation as to what you owe them. So it's all good though. All's well that ends well. I ended up getting on some series. I did a children's show, though it wasn't really what my agents and I were hoping for. Whatever. I just needed to get income, incorporate myself, so the IRS wouldn't intercept everything and get a 9-5 number. And I had a financial consultant introduced to me, and we worked out a thing. So he talked to the IRS and worked out a deal and dug me out.
Because that also happened to the cow sales. I made a movie about the cow sales.
You produced a documentary. I was going to bring this up earlier, and I was not going to let it go. I loved that documentary.
Oh, Moosie,
yes, Family Band.
Family Band, the cow sales story, and the same thing, Moosie. They had no idea until they thought for you two, you're working your entire childhood. You should have a little nest egg, not you should owe money. So it's just so disheartening.
Yeah.
And they opened their bank book, and there was $2,000 in there, and for the older kids like Bob, it was the IRS was at the door.
And these are the the unsexy parts of show business.
Right.
But I can only speak for myself. I'm only me. I'm lucky. I got it was hard at the time. It was really hard, but I got to dig out of it. I do know these stories. Where the kids were just taken and as soon as they weren't the moneymaker anymore in the family, and most importantly, apart from the money, it's how you come out of it as a person, not necessarily what the number says in your account.
Sure, absolutely.
But I did do this. One day I'm going to get in trouble for this. I worked, so I was doing a series in the daytime. And at night, I was going to Burbank Airport. When I lived in North Hollywood, I was going to Burbank Airport and doing this. I was a ramper with the cones, the lit up cones to bring in Alaska Airlines.
Good for you.
Under a different name.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Yeah.
That's excellent.
Yeah.
I mean, because that means, that defines character.
Yeah, and it helped me eat.
I'm in a hole, I'm going to dig myself out.
Yeah. I didn't just go, how am I going to go do this horrible, illegal thing? Somebody approached me and said, hey, what if you do this? My cousin is one of the head managers, blah, blah, blah. And I went, all right. And I did it for about a year.
But that's great.
Yeah.
I want to go back to your mom not accompanying you to auditions and stuff, and you had to have a minder, a handler, so who did you have to pay for that woman to do this, or did the studio provide it, or how did that work?
No, the studio didn't provide. Well, the studio provided a studio teacher at the time. They would call them welfare workers, which is a great thing for them to provide because they make sure a child's safety and well-being is being looked after. No, my mom would pay a legal guardian.
Yeah, that's what I wondered. Your mom had to pay for that. Wow.
Adults. They don't have to be a legal guardian. My oldest sister became my legal guardian.
Oh, okay. But for a moment, it was Anson Williams.
It was Anson Williams. Yeah, who I'm still friends with, and I saw not too long ago. And it was before Happy Days, obviously. I wasn't his side hustle. And he's such a good guy too, and he's a good director and all these other things, like a great human being. And I was always so proud of him, watching him,
Oh my God.
Week after week, just kill it on that show.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's so cool. So you told the story to Patrick Layborteaux where you're working with John Denver, and a fan would follow him around, blasting his music to him. Like, it's very odd what people will do when they're in contact with their heroes. Yeah,
I think I was making a commentary on just human behavior, and I'm not looking down on whoever this was back then. It's so odd to me though, and interesting. Because the guy wasn't trying to do anything harmful or anything, but he over and over again when we would go, like, so Carl Reiner was the director, Terry Garr, I played Terry Garr and John Denver's son, and Rachel Longacre was the my sister, the other kid.
And the movie is Oh God.
Oh God, yeah. And we would walk from this home to a lot of interior stuff we did at Warner Brothers, but this home on location, which was supposed to be our home, where I don't know if you remember the movie, like the news vans and all that stuff going on.
Yeah.
So, but in between scenes or whatever, we'd walk to our either dressing rooms or wherever, craft service. In my case, John Denver would be walking with us, and there was this one neighbor with a cassette tape who would play, Rocky Mountain High or Sunshine, and just walk along with him.
He was creating a soundtrack for the experience.
Like this is you.
That's called Asperger's.
Maybe that's what it is, because here's the thing. My family was friends with the Mills Brothers, and when I was 3, they came in the door, and I ran and got their album and showed it to them, and my mom was like, they've seen this. They know what it is. And so it's almost like a 3-year-old response to, hey, I enjoy you, and like,
right.
Okay, that's good.
My judgment on this guy might be hypocritical because I got to listen to John Denver sing in his dressing room to just me. He asked me, tell me, listen.
I love that
have two
story.
experiences in my life. One was I was directing a sitcom called Reba with Reba McEntire. Same thing, guitar, me, her. Asking me what kind of music I want to listen to. That was a whole nother thing. I actually don't really follow country western music, and I admitted to Bruce Lee of country western music that I wasn't a huge fan. So she asked me, and she played some Beatles stuff. So John Denver asked me one time, there were 1 or 2 scenes that weren't in the movie, but there was one that did make it in. Just between him and I, he was trying to pick me up at school. I'm embarrassed because he's on the news, yada. So I went into his dressing room to run lines because John Denver was really serious about acting. I think he did an amazing job for someone who wasn't an actor.
Yeah.
Especially back then, when athletes would they'd give them a non-actor would come in, you go, oh, there's one, that one person stands out or takes me out of it. I thought John Denver was very good in that film. Anyway, and he took it seriously. He really cared, and there was no singing or writing music in the film.
Right.
Anyway, we run lines, and then he didn't want to go, and he sat, he would just, I would hang out in there, and he would just start playing music, and I'm listening to John Denver in a 1-person concert, and with him, and I love Reba and everything, but with him, I was a big John Denver fan. He had the prettiest voice. Yeah. Everyone wanted to sing like him. If you could sing, if you're a guy, you wanted to sing like at the time anyway.
How about working with George Burns? You had no sense of the iconic nature of him at the time.
I didn't. Sometimes I did know because I was a little bit savvy for my age. I would stay up and watch Carson, and where you worked. I worked in NBC on Laugh-In, and I would walk by your studio probably before you got there, I think, because I was a little kid. And Carson's on the right when you go in, and I'd stand on his star, whatever, and go to Laugh-In. So I knew about a lot of big names. George Burns wasn't one of them, though. I had to see through the adults or my mom how big somebody was. Yeah, I could tell by their reaction. Yeah. Worked with Myrna Loy once, and I didn't know who she was. But I could tell by everyone around when she was about to show up, who is this person, But George Burns was great. I sat in his dressing room with him.
I love that film so much. I
thought it was a good film.
Yeah, it was a good film.
Yeah, I thought it was a very good film. I was proud to be
John
part
Denver
of it.
was very natural, as you say, and George Burns just has that crackle in his voice and a little hint of sarcasm, and I just love it.
Listen, Carl, if you're a fan of Carl Reiner, he had his handprint all over it.
Yes.
And, I know that, I think at the time anyway, churches and people who are, well, that's not the way it goes. This is not, who don't really realize, no, listen, it's a film. And the message is still good. It's a good message. I loved that film. And it has nothing to do with me being in it. I loved that film.
No. I thought it was, I think it was the first time it was sort of taking a different look at spirituality and stuff. And it was, I don't remember anything before that. It was great.
Thanks for coming along down the media path, and however you have found your way to us, we would love for you to like and subscribe and give us a nice review because as creators, it is our appointed duty to ask you to do that. You may also want to find us on Instagram and Blue Sky where we are at Media Path Pod, and on Facebook where our show page is Media Path Podcast and our Facebook group is Media Path with Fritz and Wheezy Podcast Community. If you are listening to our show, we are also a video podcast on YouTube at Media Path Podcast. You can write to us at mediapathpodcast@gmail.com. My TikTok is Louise Palanker, where I post behind-the-scenes peeks and clips from the show. And Fritz's TikTok is Fritz Coleman Comedy. He posts stand-up clips and popular dance crazes. Our website is mediapathpodcast.com. There you can binge episodes and our spicy newsletter. Thank you so much. On with the rest of the show. Now, Lily Tomlin would pull you into her giant rocking chair.
Yeah.
And would you two get that thing to rockin'?
I don't know if now there was no if the chairs are rocking, don't come knocking. Is that what you're?
I wouldn't insinuate that, but just have yourselves some fun.
Yeah, because she, I saw her not that long ago too. She's just a sweet woman.
So cool.
And my goodness, Lily Tomlin. I mean, she's amazing.
I sat with her to dinner.
Yeah.
And she refused to talk about herself. She just wanted to know about me the
Yes.
entire time, asking me questions.
Well, you are very interesting.
Yes. I just love her. She's just a lovely person.
But
she knew how to relate to kids.
Yeah, and she was in her Edith Ann character. Remember, my name is Edith Ann. About 5 years old, she had a little, and I, walked by. So Laugh-In was, I forgot the stage number. You worked there, but it was a large stage, but only so large. Like Laugh-In was like there were so many sets and skits and this and that. And I'm in a tree house next to Dan Ronan and Dick Martin. I was part of the news segment. Mm-hmm. Over to the left of me, I remember there was the wall where they pop out of the colorful, whatever, and tell their jokes.
Yeah, set up your responsibility on that show. It was Kid News for Kids or something like that.
Yeah.
And it happened at the end of the show, and they actually called you Moosie Drier on the show.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they used my name. And it wasn't the end of the show so much. It was in the middle of it where Dan Ronan and Dick Martin had a Laugh-In Meets the News or Laugh-In. It was kind of like a weekend update on Saturday Night Live. Not only was it kind of like that,
Lorne Michaels
was a writer on Laugh-In, and George Slaughter, who I spoke to on a podcast not too long ago, he was saying, I think he took my news.
Yeah, a little borrow.
Anyway, so I did Kid News for Kids. It wasn't, I wasn't, turning television upside down or breaking, too much ground. But, Dan Ronan and Dick Martin would say, and now we go to Moosie Drier for Kid News for Kids. And I'd be in a treehouse with the baseball cap on sideways. And, they'd have a little thing, little Jimmy did it, and with a slingshot, boy, was his mom, and then a joke. That wasn't, I don't remember any of it. That was my little bump, bump. And Back to You, Dick and Dan was like a little signature thing they had me do. And Paul Keyes was a head writer on Laugh-In, and I was too young to read at that time. So he would send audio cassettes to my house with him reading what he wrote. He reading my little news monologues. Line reads, basically, and I didn't care. And so I would memorize it from the audio. I would just walk around with this in my ear and then be taken to NBC.
You were also dyslexic, right?
Yes.
And so when you got a job on a sitcom or something, they would send you a tape, and that's how you memorized your dialogue.
Well, only Laugh-In. I would do the tape. What happened was, I'm dyslexic, but my eye to page to mouth skills were not great for cold readings, for auditions and stuff. Mm-hmm. So I had no choice, unless I didn't want to work, I had no choice but to memorize the stuff, which actually became a happy accident because most other kids weren't in there off book. So that might have something to do with working because I know it by heart going into the audition. I'm holding it, but I couldn't. The words were just, the letters would just switch places.
All right, we have a little game, and the game is really just a good excuse to talk about some of your credits. The game is called IMDb Roulette. We spin the wheel, and we stop at some of your IMDb credits, and you tell us who you played, if you can. and what you remember. Now, I think you've talked about the war between men and women. How was that film received?
I don't think it was a big box office hit. It was a big production, though. Like it was an expensive film for the time. You know, Mel Shavelson was the director. I thought it was received pretty well. It was loosely based on the life of, I believe his name is James Thurber.
Okay.
He was the artist.
Yeah. That's why there's so
who
many
was going
drawings.
blind.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh.
Lisa Eilbacher was a teenage actress who was the daughter of Phyllis on the show Phyllis and on Mary Tyler Moore. She was closely anyway.
Wasn't that Lisa Gerritsen?
I mean, I'm sorry. Lisa Gerritsen.
Okay.
Lisa Eilbacher was the older sister on War Between Men and Women. Dyslexia comes back, folks. No, Lisa Gerritsen. Yes. I love that you know that. Thank you.
But she's so good.
She was so good, Pamela and Ferdinand. I brought her up to Pamela because I'm trying to think who was her competition. Because Pam was on everything, and she was the only one I can think of. But there's a couple scenes in that film with Jack Lemmon and Lisa Gerritsen that blow you away. It's so good. She plays a stutterer who is coming to terms with the divorce of her parents, and she can't get it out. She doesn't stutter, but she was so moving in that film. I wish it would have done better. I think
I didn't see it. Was it not a comedy or?
It was a comedy. Yeah, I mean, it wasn't a full on, dramedy maybe. Yeah.
All right, then we had. You want to skip Laugh In, Fritzy? We've done.
okay,
Oh
hang
God!
on.
Or we could.
I
go to,
have responsibilities.
You could go
as
to
part
number
of the show,
4.
too.
I think you could go to number 4.
So there's no like ping pong ball thing you spin and you pull a show.
No, we
out
do
or-
that. She does that in post production.
The roulette
So
part is
you
completely
have said
contrived.
that your favorite job was the Bob Newhart show. So talk about Bob Newhart. Who'd you play? What was your
I
character
played
name?
Little Howie. I was the pilot's son, Bill Daly, who was sort of, in my opinion, like the kind of the original Kramer from Seinfeld. You know, the way he just busted.
Perfect next door neighbor.
He's a wacky neighbor.
He's a wacky neighbor, and when he came into a room, he came into a room. You know what I mean? That kind, and I loved him. He was very he was brilliant. So I had a reoccurring role. You know, I did 8 or something episodes. I can't remember. Again, with just like Oh God, like it has nothing to do with it. What did I do? I was just played a kid actor. That was one of my favorite sitcoms. It was so well written. I mean, the staff of writers on that show, they all come from Mary Tyler Moore, which was just fantastic.
Yeah.
I'll tell you something, though, about Bill Daly that just crossed my mind. So Bill Daly, I found out after he passed away, while I somehow came across an interview that he gave, that he was talking about the Bob Newhart show, and the hardest time in his life was an episode he had, he said, with me. In real life, during the sitcom, we do 1 week. Monday you got a table read. By Friday, the audience is in. 4 cameras, 3 cameras, boom. During that exact week where the script was that Little Howie, moves in with my dad and decides by the end of the episode, I actually just want to go live with Mom. Like, he failed the audition of his son wanting to live with him instead of his mom. And that's exactly what was happening that week in his own life.
Oh my God.
And yeah. And I paid attention a bit. I was, at that point, it was towards the end of Bob Newhart show. So I think I was, I was maybe a young teenager. I don't know. But I started out really little. But, I'm surprised that I never caught wind of that. And I remember a lot of stuff. Those are the kind of things you remember. He was such a professional. I had no idea he was going through. He said it was the weirdest thing. It was such a parallel. It wasn't even like sort of like what was going on in real life. And he was breaking his heart. I mean, he was really struggling with it,
You made a comment to somebody sometime that said the most fun is when you do a sitcom that's really well written because you know the audience is going to laugh, and that's fun. The hard part is with your when you're doing a sitcom and it's not really well written, and you just kind of wince as you get to the line, and it's going. You're not sure the audience is going to laugh at all. It's more fun when you know the stuff is so good that people are going to laugh.
You never had to worry on the Bob Newhart show. Or let's see. I did a Family Ties, and some of these shows that were so well written. Just go out and deliver and respect the material and trust the material, and don't try to mug it up or do anything differently than to try to get laughs. It's in there. It's inherent. It's built in.
But you understand comic timing, so you know how to deliver a fun. You know the rhythm.
Perhaps.
Yeah,
Thank you.
sure.
Yeah, but to that point, yeah. I mean, there were times where you can let go of worrying because you're not having to juggle or anything like that to try to get a reaction. Yeah. It's there. And when it is there, when it is written, when it's underneath, it's the humor and the intelligence is written. It's the bed. It's unbreakable. Whereas I hope, there are some shows I've done, I'm just like, I hope a moth lands on my head and it makes them laugh as long as they're laughing.
It worked for Mike Pence.
Yeah, I remember The Fly. Yeah,
Flying worked.
But you know what I mean?
Very
There's some
funny.
like, how is this? No one's laughing during rehearsals. No one laughing.
That's not going to suddenly get... Yeah. All right, let's talk. I love this film, and I think I've seen this film a few times because I'm like a fiend... a fan of the history of rock and roll. You did a film called American Hot Wax in 1978, where you play a kid who's sort of obsessed with
Buddy
Alan Freed and with Buddy Holly. Talk about that.
Well, the film was a story about the life of Alan Freed. It was loosely based on. Yeah. Alan Freed was a disc jockey, and he kind of pushed the boundaries at the time of rock and roll. Rock and roll was trying to be stopped, and then at the end there's this kind of riot that breaks out between the police and the audience and whatnot. And anyway, he was infamous. And I played a character who was the president of the Buddy Holly fan club.
Yeah.
And I knew everything about Buddy, and at that point in the time, Buddy Holly had passed. The plane had gone down and all that. So I'm this kid trying to keep his music alive, keep reminding people about Buddy, and I end up talking my way into the disc jockey booth and having this conversation with Alan Freed while he's on the air about Buddy, and Jay Leno, Fran Drescher, Lorraine Newman.
And Lorraine Newman is sort of a Carole King character.
Yes.
It's such a great film if you guys haven't seen it.
And Alan Freed was the first guy to play African American music on a white radio station, on a top 40 radio station. So he was responsible for the crossover back in those days, what they called race music.
Yeah. And which was ridiculous in my mind, but that it was controversial, and he, there were people trying to put a stop to him, and what could we find? Tax evasion, anything. Let's just try to get him on something. Yeah.
It rings a bell, this behavior.
Yeah.
So they did a movie called Rainbow, which was about,
Judy Garland.
Yeah.
And you played a young Mickey Rooney.
Yes.
And I always wonder, is it pressure when the person is still alive and you want to do the correct interpretation? And were you at all conscious of that when you're playing the role?
Yeah, of course, because you're playing somebody. You definitely want to resemble their mannerisms and all that stuff. They had me. So Jackie Cooper was the director.
That's so cool.
Yeah. And Andrea McArnold was Judy.
She was phenomenal. I mean, she sang.
Well, she's a talent. She's a real talent.
Was this pre-Annie or?
This was
right after.
Sort of. I feel like I don't know how this could be, but during Annie.
Oh, during.
Yeah, maybe she took a break from Broadway and went back, because I remember the commercials, and then here I am with her.
Wow.
We got in trouble a little bit on the Paramount lot.
Making out?
No, we didn't go there, but we were like, where are they? We're on a golf cart.
Of course. Why not?
Yeah.
There's a lot to explore.
It was her idea. I just want to throw her into that. I'm just kidding. So I know that I haven't seen it in a long time, and I'm in a couple scenes in the movie, but there was one scene that I was in that was in the script that didn't make it into the movie, which that I remember. Because, when you have something you really enjoyed or you're proud of, it doesn't make it in that show business. But that's my memory. It's when, I come into a dressing room and there's Judy with her ruby slippers on the set of Wizard of Oz. Wow. She was having trouble, and they're like, "Who's her friend?" And they send out for Mickey Rooney, and I come in. Am I elderly if I almost just called him Mickey Rourke? Probably. So, this is one of the signs. Anyway, so that scene got cut, and I always, oh darn about that, but that's the way it goes.
But did you get to meet Mickey Rooney?
No,
Okay.
I never met Mickey Rooney.
What about Mickey Rourke?
I have met Mickey Rourke.
She said, "What about Mickey Rourke?"
Yeah.
All right, let's talk about, let's see. I want to talk about Up the Sandbox because on IMDb you are uncredited, but I imagine you were still on the set with Barbra Streisand. Uh-huh. So what happened
It
there?
was the craziest thing. So Up the Sandbox, I'm uncredited on IMDb for that. But if you see the movie, my sister told me, there's my name on the scroll. So I did go work on it, I think 1 or 2 days. In the world, in what world is this actually? That Barbra Streisand requested me for that. Yeah, I was on something, laughing, or she saw something I was on.
Wow.
And she's like, well, she requested me. And when I got there, I didn't know what I was doing. I think I had 1 or 2 lines. It was a tiny thing. It was one of my first things, And I barely even remember it, but I do remember meeting her. I do, because I knew who she was, I'm still a huge Streisand fan, And the fact that she asked for me was just crazy. And I don't even know if you could see me in the movie. I was either cut out or I had one line. It was so quick.
Do you remember what you played?
It was a party scene. I was like, I think maybe she had a kid in the film or something, or someone had a kid and it was the little birthday party. Okay. So, yeah. And I'm still a little angry. I must have been snubbed at the Oscar time that year. But I was.
Who do I call?
Yeah, I was a glorified extra in that, I think.
All right, Fritzy, what do you got?
Family Ties, which I thought was really well written. So.
I only did 1 episode. I was Alex's buddy, so I only did a guest spot on that. But I've known Michael.
Republican?
My character wasn't. Michael's was. And I knew him already for a long time before that. And that was a great time I got to spend with him because I knew him when he came down from Canada to be an actor. His parents sent him a truck or whatever. So, he had this huge sofa, leather sectional something. And while he was struggling, he would sell 1 piece at a time.
Oh my
He's
God.
And the more he struggled, the less places there were for him to sit, I guess. I don't know.
And I watched a documentary about him. He's a very, very inspirational human being. And they said that he was taping Family Ties during the day and then going and shooting Back to the Future at night. And sleeping 2 hours a night.
Probably the only person who could have pulled that off. He's so talented. So when he came on at Family Ties, and Meredith Baxter Birney and everyone else,
Michael Gross,
Justine Bateman, everyone else, fine, very good. They're there for a reason. They're good. But he comes into a scene, everything falls into place somehow. He was just one of those actors, He was so good. And I was up for Back to the Future, actually. And I clearly didn't get it. Eric Stoltz got the role. And when they replaced him, by the time they replaced him, Michael J. Fox was on fire. And everyone was like, well, this guy, And when I found out Michael J. Fox got Back to the Future, that was such about time I didn't care that I wasn't doing it. That guy is good. Yeah. I mean, really good. Really good. Yeah. So that was that. And David, Larry David Goldberg, I believe, was one of the showrunners. I worked a lot with him throughout my years of Family Ties. Yeah, that's how I did Family Ties. I don't think I auditioned.
They did the pilot for that over at NBC, and I went and stood in the back of the room and watched them tape the pilot.
Yeah. Hey, I know you changed the subject when I was talking about you earlier, but I also wanted to tell you this, Fritz.
Only if you have a couple more compliments.
Okay.
Okay.
Oh, well, never mind. I'm just kidding. So I at one point I lived with, in my late 20s. I actually had 3 roommates in a home here on Chandler, and we had this ongoing thing. We'd go to the beach. We were just whatever we were. These guys just out in the world, just having fun. And just, beautiful day. Fritz said it would be like this, Fritz said it would be like that. And it was never a mocking of you or anything like that. It just became that. Your name and the reference of,
Well, that was an advertising campaign.
I know,
means
but
it's a good slogan, though.
I'll tell you a funny story about that. The ad campaign was a billboard on a blue background with
I think
white.
we have a miniature of that on our desk.
Oh, there it is right there.
If you want to
Right.
zoom in on it. Yeah, hold it up, Fritzy.
Yeah. So this coincidentally was the time when Jimmy Carter was running for president,
This is good.
and his vice president candidate was Fritz Mondale, right?
Walter Mondale's nickname was Fritz.
Right.
Yeah.
Probably a middle name of Frederick.
So somebody in a conservative newspaper in Orange County wrote it up, and they said, finally, a network has come out and finally admitted that they're all left-wing, and they're putting all their eggs in the Jimmy Carter thing. They're doing ads for Fritz Mondale, and they were pontificating about us, the NBC, and so somebody sent me this article, and so I sent him an autographed picture and a T-shirt down to the newspaper. I said, "Thanks for the PR. It's just me, Fritz." And I hadn't been on the air that long,
Right.
but that name paid off. One brief shining
I
moment.
wouldn't have remembered that unless you brought it, Fritz Mondale.
Yeah. Isn't that
Unless
funny?
you brought it up. But anyway, you become, I'll still say it. Oh, well, let me tell you a story about this morning when it poured and there was thunder and lightning, and Fritz told me nothing.
No, I never heard I didn't hear a word.
It's a little inconsiderate.
People still ask me the weather, and I say, "Listen to me, sir. You're a nice man. Look on your phone, and don't ever ask me the weather again. I relinquish my license."
Yeah.
People don't know that you took a donkey to get here from your house, which is across the canyon.
Yeah, I live that close to where we are right now.
We are neighbors.
Yeah, we're neighbors.
Yeah.
So you directed an episode of Reba. I happen to be a huge fan of hers. I saw her show in Las Vegas, and it was spectacular. Is she as nice as she seems?
No, she's nicer than that.
Oh my gosh.
Honest to goodness, she is the nicest. Someone hasn't told her that she's an icon or something. I don't know.
No, she's
knows this. Okay,
She has a twinkle about it.
she really does. I'm Reba McEntire right now. I get up. I'm asking everyone in the room if I can get them something. Like, you know what I mean? That's not the biggest deal in the world, but it's like not everybody.
I have a Reba story.
Yeah.
There's a deli up the hill,
Yeah.
and we'll go there
Glendale.
together.
Yeah.
And I open the door, and Reba comes out. I turn to my husband, and I say, not too quietly because I'm an idiot, I say, "It's Reba." And my husband says, even less quietly, "Reba who?" And she just smiled.
Yeah,
She just lit up.
she's a good sport.
Because it was just funny to me that I would have to say, if I have to say her last name, you don't know who I'm talking about anyway. So the whole thing was just hilarious because he was like the only person that would ask that question. And
Yeah.
she just met him.
Yeah.
But that's how she is. She
Of
doesn't
course.
care.
Well, you know how earlier I was telling you about how she played guitar for me. And she's like, well, what do you like to hear? And when she asked me about, well, what do you listen to as far as country western? And I kind of had to the commercial "Want to Get Away." Like I didn't have an answer really.
I live in Los
And you were
Angeles.
honest. She appreciated your honesty.
She got up and hugged me because of that. Is
Yeah,
what I was
of
going to
course.
say. Yeah, she was like, people don't, She's like, "Thank you for just telling me the truth about it." Okay, well, what did you grow up listening to? What do you want to hear? And she played a lot. She loved the Beatles, and so did I.
Well, her stepson was Brandon Blackstock,
Shelby,
who was married to
Norval. Narvel.
Kelly Clarkson.
Oh yeah.
Kelly
I know what
Clarkson,
you're
and
saying.
he just passed away.
I know.
And so they both had this bad.
Oh, no.
Yeah, it's sad. Yeah, she was married to Narvel Blackstock.
And you know, she's had some luck in sitcoms. Both.
She's talented.
They're really good and well written, and she delivers the lines well. It's not that they just stuck a star in there and give her these lines. She's really very natural.
It's a great team that she has. So a friend of mine I grew up with, Kevin Abbott. He's a showrunner he was for Reba and also for Happy's Place, I believe is the name of their new show. Mm-hmm. And he did one other one with them. Anyway, they know how to write for her. It's not, she also brings it. But you know, you have to have more than one piece in place. And yeah, she makes it work.
Well, you got into directing on Kids Incorporated because you were already kind of becoming an adult while you were on there trying to pay off your IRS bill. And you were like, well, if I'm going to keep doing this, I'd like to start branching out and stretching myself and learning new skill sets. So tell us a little about how you got into directing.
Well, so I was on that show I did it 5 seasons total, but I was about to walk away. My agent told them, between the 4th and 5th season, how grateful I was, and it's time to move. It wasn't as challenging for me as an actor as at the time, I just didn't feel like it was something I wanted to continue to do.
How many seasons were you on there?
5 total. Okay. But after 4, I was going to go, thank you very much. Mm-hmm. You're all amazing. And they were. I really love everyone I worked with on that show. So anyway, I go out shooting pool with my friend in Brentwood, and I see Kevin Berg, who started out on the first season as a PA, and by the time the 4th season came around, he was an associate producer. Like, he really worked himself up, by the way. He went on to be the VP of CBS Paramount Television for many, many years. So successful. And I remember when he brought everyone coffee and, moved cars if they were double parked for people. So anyway, he's like, well, I found out today that, because I just told my agent, I think we should do this. We should decline, And he's, well, what can we do? We talked about it. We don't have any money. We're on Disney Channel or whatever. We don't have any money. What'll get you back? And I said, if I can direct the show, get me into the DGA, which is very hard to do. Mm-hmm. To get into the DGA is one thing, but to get in under that category as a director, because there's unit production managers, there's first AD, stage manager. And he said, well, you know what, Moose, let me find out. Let me see what I can do. And I didn't think anything of it. And my agent calls me a couple days later. And Tom Lynch, who was the showrunner, and I, who, by the way, had coffee the other day at that deli that you just brought up. He's such a great guy.
Was Reba there?
He called my agent. We were like, he was my boss, but we were buddies, Who does Moosie think he is? We don't let anyone direct this show, blah, 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 blah. So, he was passionate. So, but anyway, he then called my agent a few days after that and said, all right, well, we can't really find, they didn't like who they were trying to find to replace my character of the only adult on the show. He said, later he told me, he goes, be honest with you, whenever I put an adult with the kids, it felt creepy. So he goes, with you, it didn't feel so creepy. So I'm like, oh, great. And I thought it was a perfect storm because I was a child actor too. And I can kind of go, I think so-and-so's kind of losing it right now. Let's get the take. You know what I mean? I can kind of tell what they're going through. Mm-hmm. Anyway, so then he's like, have Moosie come into my office. And I went in and he said, I didn't say a word. He said, you're going to be the first person to turn on the lights. You're going to be the last person to leave and turn off the lights. You're going to observe Gary Halvorson, Michael Dimmich, Tom Turvovich, Jeff Margolis, and all these other amazing directors, by the way. They had some great multicam directors on their show. Mm-hmm. Now get out of my office. Oh. And it got me into the DGA. Yeah.
That's so cool. So Kids Incorporated was mostly singing and dancing, but the premise was then they would go to the soda shop and you were working there?
Yes.
Okay. So where are they singing? Is it a nightclub? Is it like a kids nightclub? Like, help me out.
Yes.
What's all happening?
I don't know.
What's all going on?
It's been a long time. But basically, I could tell you what I do know or remember. I mean, I did 5 years there. I should probably be able to answer this. I would think. But it's one of those things. So they're on the monitor. See, I was kind of the soda jerk guy running the that's Ryan Lambert running the place where they performed.
Was that
right?
Adam Lambert before he became Adam?
No, Ryan Lambert.
Okay.
If I start to question the believability and the feasibility
We will
of Kids
suspend-
Incorporated, so you need to suspend belief.
Suspend.
So they had a place where they could perform. I was like it was a kid show, so maybe I'm the poor man's Arnold from Happy Days or whatever, like the only, the grown up or whatever.
Sure enough.
Who has like the message at the end and the advice of the older brother type of kind of figure. And no parents were ever seen. Like these kids were just hanging out all the time,
Singing,
doing
dancing.
whatever they want, singing, dancing. And we had some fun. You know what I mean? It was for kids. I ended up growing up and going, okay, listen, it wasn't about me. It was a kid show. There were some good messages. Kids got a lot of great enjoyment out of it.
You got to practice your chops.
Yeah.
Did you sing at all on the show?
No, fortunately for everybody. Actually, I did a little bit, but not. It wasn't real singing. It was like kind of talk singing. No, I wasn't a singer. I know.
Any big stars come out of that franchise?
Yes. Well, her name was Stacy, but she's Fergie.
Oh.
Stacy Ferguson.
That's cool.
She was on all 5 years that I did. I just talked to her recently on podcast. And Mario Lopez was the drummer.
Oh, cool.
But he was a dancer. So there were 5 main singers who would do like the dialogue and singing, and then there were 5 dancers who would be part of like the fantasy numbers of the dancing, and also they call them concert numbers where they perform live for other kids. And Mario was a dancer / drummer, and Jennifer Love Hewitt was on it, and and we had guest stars like David Hasselhoff. Huge names.
Where'd you
Rip
shoot
Taylor.
that show?
I think in 5 seasons we were at 4 different studios.
Okay.
It was
So
just kind of leasing stages, and
And
we
it was a
did.
Disney show, Disney Channel.
Yeah, but not the whole time. I think 2 of the seasons we were on Disney Channel, but I think we were at KTLA a couple seasons, but then we were at Sunset Gower. When I directed, 5th season was at Sunset Gower.
So there's a lot of kids who grew up on that show, so that's cool.
Yeah.
You're part of people's childhoods. What else? What should people know about you today? You've got your podcast. Where
It's
else?
called Pop Culture
Retro. Yeah.
And it's really interesting, especially if you're a pop culture fan.
I appreciate you guys talking about it. I'm a fan of this podcast, and I do watch, like I told you. And what I love about podcast is like we can talk about on each other's podcast. Yeah. There's room for everybody. It's not like a competitive thing. And if you have the same guests as I have, or vice versa, it's a different conversation. Even if it's the same, it's a different dynamic.
Every time it's a different conversation.
In my research about you, what I really appreciated about you was that you have no bitterness about your time as a child star. You are nothing but grateful for that experience. And that's refreshing. They're not all. Some go through these horrible tunnels of black holes of emotional despair and, abuse chemicals and stuff. But you have had a pretty positive memory of your experience.
Oh, thank you. Appreciate that. But I will just say that being when you're a child actor, you end up being an adult, and then for many, we're not so cute anymore. Maybe you don't work anymore, and it's a whole different.
It's hard.
A whole different reality of rejection and stuff like so. That's hard in itself. But just apart from that, child actors have such a stigma of drugs and alcohol and holding up the drugstore and all this, and that does and has happened. But also happens to a lot of people you don't hear about who aren't in the business. It's just growth. And when Danny Bonaducci, who I only bring him up because he talks about it openly, when something would happen that get him in trouble with the law, it would make the news, but Billy over in Barstow, who's not a child actor, you would never hear anything about. So I mean, it's sort of like in a fishbowl a little bit.
Good point. Is there a part of your childhood, having had to do work all the time, now that you're an adult, you feel like you missed?
Yeah. My friends, I just wanted to be I loved the craft of acting. I love it. I loved actually acting. But the auditions and the driving and having to get out of home from school so I can do this, and that while my other friends were playing Little League, I love to play baseball. I love baseball, and I never got to play Little League baseball, which is why I'm still 140 years old now, and I play softball still.
Oh,
and
cool.
I ache and I complain and I ouch and I ooch every day, but I'm still playing softball because I'm sort of making up for that. But yeah,
course.
that's one, and I think a lot of other child performers have their thing. Someone wanted to be an ice skater, someone wanted to do this, but yeah.
Well, I have a question that you may not want to address, so it's okay if you don't. I know you don't know your dad, but do you know if he ever saw any of your work?
I don't know. But I don't want to open up a rabbit hole about my family, but 4 of us came out with my mom from California, but there were 7 of us.
Right.
Full-blooded, full siblings. 3 were put up for adoption. My younger brother, I grew up the youngest kid, but actually, blood-wise, I had a younger brother who was adopted in Chicago. He had a friend come up to him when he was running a pizza place in Chicago and saying, "You see that guy in the show? There was this sitcom that was on called Just the 10 of Us. I played the boxer. It was when I was not a kid, but he's like, gosh, he looks like you." And my brother would say, I know I've heard about, my biological family and that I have a brother who's an actor, whatever. And somehow we ended up meeting each other. I'm very, very close with him now. That was years ago. But I don't know about the father, but I know my brother knew about me and then started going, yeah, because we do look like brothers.
Really?
Poor guy. Yeah.
I know.
Yeah.
Well, that's really interesting.
Yeah.
Well, I recommend your podcast because you're very funny. It's a great conversation, and you.
You're a good host.
Yeah, you're a good host.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And you don't, sometimes when you're acting or doing one thing, you don't know there's other things that you may be good at. And now this whole kind of digital age allows us all to sort of host things if that's something that, we think we might enjoy doing.
Do you miss acting? Do you still get called for any roles or anything like that?
No. I don't miss. I did some voiceover work for a long time. I still do voiceover, actually. I don't really miss the on-camera acting because I direct a lot of theater.
Yeah.
So this
At
process,
the Whitefire Theater in Sherman
I've
Oaks.
done a lot there. Great theater. I love
Yeah, it
Brian
really is.
Rasmussen.
A lot of things get their launch in that theater.
Yeah. What if I would miss anything, it's the process. That's why I love to direct it. I'm still part of the process. I don't need the glory. I don't need to be recognized for it. I just love to do it.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
All right. Well, should folks find you on social media or just look for the podcast? We'll have everything in our show notes.
I'm the worst. I'm on Facebook.
Yeah.
Moosie Drier, and I do have an Instagram account. And I think they still call it Twitter, but maybe I close it. I don't even know. But
You're like me. It's way underserved.
Really,
way underserved on social media.
Yeah, I'm an archaic presence on social media, and I admit it.
So sign up, and Moosie will write you a letter.
Yeah.
Will arrive,
And I'll send it back with a honing pigeon, from the old days.
and then there'll be a smoke signal, and we'll all get to know each other. So here come your closing credits, but we will have links to Moosie's podcast and everything we've talked about today in our show notes. We want to thank our wonderful guest, Moosie Drier. Our team includes producer Dina Friedman, John Maddox, Bill Filipiak, Mason Brown, Raf Rusak, Jordan Reyes, Haley Freight, and you. Our theme music is by me and John Maddox. I am here with Fritz Coleman. I am Louise Palenker. Moosie Drier is with us. Be well and wise. Take good care of each other, and we will see you along the media path. Didn't get through that without stumbling. That was awesome.
Thank you, guys.
That was really good.
You're a great storyteller. You made it so easy.
Oh, I appreciate it.
Okay,
I feel so long-winded. Go ahead.
Hang, we're going to do a tease here. Hang.
There's a really cool